it is a peculiar reflex. Whenever you hear the word cancer, your mind inevitably turns to death, even if the type of cancer that you have is not typically fatal. The two terms are so inextricably linked that your thoughts naturally get pulled in that direction. I've been thinking a lot about death recently, the emotional impact of it, the financial impact on my family, the things I'd leave undone, the dreams unfulfilled. And yet, I do not fear it. I heard a lot about how calm I was being in the face of the news, how much in denial I must be not to be panicked. What a brave face I was wearing for the people around me. But bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. And I just didn't have it. Like most things in life, it's something I'm pretty chill about. And that might be because I've seen it in the older members of my family. It might be because of the cultural attitude we had about it growing up. And it might be because the media I gravitated toward gave me a certain zen about death. For example, when I think of death with dignity, I think of Nothing in the Dark. Robert Redford died this week. I'll probably always think of him as the guy who made political reporting sexy, when in reality it's choking back Rolaids and shouting to see if anyone has an AP style book you can borrow, because you can't remember if Brussels sprouts is capitalized. It is. But Redford also starred in the first Twilight Zone episode I ever actually saw, Nothing in the Dark. I'd seen the movie in the 1980s, and I had an idea of what the show was about, but I'd never actually seen an episode of the original series until after high school. As episodes of Rod Serling's legendary hit anthology go, Nothing in the Dark is one of the least ambitious. That's not a knock. The series has a number of fine bottle episodes. I just mean that the episode relies on the performances to drive the investment from the audience rather than, say, relying on flying saucers. For those who are only familiar with the Twilight Zone through cultural osmosis, the show was the brainchild of sci-fi writer Rod Serling. It ran from 1959 to 1964 and has been resurrected several times, including most recently by Jordan Peele. Stories ranged from the truly macabre to the insufferably preachy to the genuinely uplifting. This episode teases being in the first category before falling into that final category by the end of the story. Multi-time Oscar nominee Gladys Cooper plays Wanda, an elderly shut-in who has locked herself off from the world out of fear of death. Not just catching a bad cold from someone or getting run over by a drunk driver, she has a fear of the literal challenge you to a game of chess, row you across the river Styx personification of death, who she recognizes as a man who kills with just a touch and changes his face to fool people. She awakens in her isolated, run-down tenement building one morning after hearing a commotion and a gunshot outside her door. A man's voice on the other side pleads for help.
I've been shot. I need help.
Apparently, he's a police officer named Harold Belden, played by a 24-year-old Robert Redford. At first, she refuses to open the door, telling him that it's a trick and that she doesn't want to die. When he passes out from the pain and blood loss, though, she touches him and finds that she's still alive. Belden awakens inside the old woman's house to a pot of tea. She tells him that she didn't call a doctor because she has no phone, and that all the neighbors have moved away. Besides, death keeps knocking. First in the form of a gas company worker, and then the city contractor. Both of them telling her that the building is condemned and she has to get out of there.
He knows I'm onto him.
Harold seems skeptical, but Wanda tells him about an old woman she saw on a bus once. A nice young man sat down next to her, and when he touched her, she died. Belden assures her that they are safe, but he really needs a doctor immediately. They're interrupted by a knock at the door that turns out to be the contractor, played by the great character actor Archie Armstrong. The contractor explains that he has to tear down the old and make way for the new.
It's not subtle!
She pleads for help from Belden to have him explain why she needs to be able to stay, but the contractor can't see him.
Who are you talking to?
The contractor storms out, having enough of this crazy lady, and that's when she realizes that Belden was in fact Mr. Death all along.
You made me trust you.
But I had to make you understand.
When she asks why he didn't just kill her once he was inside the house, he explains that it was important to him to show her that death isn't something that you need to fear. Often it can be a sweet release. And with that, she takes his hand and he leads her out into the daylight on a beautiful city walk. Rod Serling's voiceover advises us that there's nothing in the dark that isn't there when the light is on. A few years before his death, film critic Roger Ebert wrote, "I know it is coming, and I do not fear it, because I believe there is nothing on the other side of death to fear. I hope to be spared as much pain as possible on the approach path. I was perfectly content before I was born, and I think of death as the same state." That's a nice thought. It helps to reframe the immortal question from, where do we go when we die, to, what were we before we were born? That seems to be something that doesn't concern us nearly as much. No one weeps for the man yet to be born in the year 2039 because his soul is lost. So why should we weep for the man who died in 2019? The answer, of course, is that we don't weep for him. We weep for ourselves. If art still has a purpose in the age of digital reproduction, it's philosophy in action. It's the fictional representation of big ideas and big dreams. Rod Serling understood that, and this episode, penned by frequent Twilight Zone scribe George Clayton Johnson, captures the belief that Epicurus had about death. When we exist, death is not present. When death is present, we do not exist. Epicurus was nothing if not logical. If we do not exist, we can't be hurt. Robert Redford has a long and enduring legacy, both as an actor and an advocate for the art of film in general. He is the Sundance and Sundance Film Festival. He is in both Alfred Hitchcock Presents and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. IMDb puts his awards count at 65 nominations of major awards, with 46 wins. This will all live on now that he's gone. In embracing life, he has beaten death, while Wanda Dunn barely seemed to exist at all.
I haven't always lived like this. I was young once. People said I was pretty.
I am, and would like to go on, existing. Although I do not fear death, I do not embrace it. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. Stay warm, stay safe, wash your hands, make good choices, get your routine breast exam or colonoscopy, or hey, better get both. Return your shopping carts, and I will see you next time.
Loved this video. Share